We're about to break down some quarterback rumors here on New Orleans Saints Now. Before we do that, though, we are this close to 3,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already and you want more free Saints videos here on YouTube, hit that big red button and subscribe right now. It's all about the quarterback position here on New Orleans Saints Now. I am Tom Downey, talking trade rumors, free agency, and draft as well. There's no more important position in the NFL than quarterback, and the Saints have question marks at the position. Technically, 5 guys on the roster. There's Jameis Winston, Trevor Siemian, who played a lot of quarterback this year due to injuries for Winston in particular. Those 2 are free agents. Taysom Hill is back, but we know what Taysom Hill is at this point. Ian Book didn't play great in a tough situation, and Blake Bortles was signed to a futures deal, so he's technically on the roster as well. I don't think there's a franchise option on this roster, which means that is the Saints' number 1 need, to find and acquire a franchise quarterback. Now, how would you do it? We're going to break down 3 different routes for all 3 of these options. How would you fill that quarterback need? T for trade, D for draft someone, S for sign or re-sign somebody. Drop your votes for me in the comments. Let's talk about a trade here for the New Orleans Saints. Could they trade for Derek Carr? The future of the longtime Raiders quarterback is a little bit murky. Another regime change coming. Head coach GM Carr entering one of the final years of his deal, due for an extension or for the Raiders to move on from him. NFL.com laid out some Derek Carr destinations, and they, of course, included the Raiders on this list. They were still the number 1 team. That seems fair to me. Colts, Saints, Steelers, and Washington on that list. I actually think the presence of Carson Wentz and really his contract makes the Colts a tricky destination. That would leave the Saints then as next up on this list. Washington, by the way, I think would be a really logical fit for Derek Carr as well if the Raiders move on from him. Carr this past year, the touchdown interception numbers are not great, but for all the drama that organization went through to get to the playoffs and have a quarterback who historically is very impressive on third downs and has been a clutch quarterback, I think that's a big deal for his future as being a starter in the NFL. I believe that Derek Carr is a solid NFL quarterback. I think he is in that Kirk Cousins range. I think I'd take him over Kirk Cousins. Is he a top 10 QB? No, I don't think so. And that's where you start to get a little bit tricky, right? If you trade for Derek Carr, I think it would probably cost a first rounder in terms of the value you would have to give up to acquire him. Look what Carson Wentz went for after all. You would also have to commit to him as the guy. You're not going to bring on a quarterback and then dump him a year later when you've got salary cap, stuff to jump through. So that's a big deal, I believe, for New Orleans. So Carr should be on your list. I don't think he should be your number 1 guy if you're trying to fix the quarterback spot. So who do you want as QB in 2022? Derek Carr? Somebody else altogether? Let me know in the comments section. I think the dream name outside of Aaron Rodgers is Russell Wilson, right? And this rumor, guys, it's not going away. All right, just like the Sean Payton Cowboy stuff. It's never going to die. It's just the reality of life in the football world. Russell Wilson trade is here until he does get traded or signs an extension in Seattle. ESPN and NFL.com have discussed the Wilson trade possibility this upcoming offseason. Wilson, I think in the end it's his decision. If he wants to stay in Seattle, I think they'd work out an extension for him, bring down his cap hit. But he keeps saying he doesn't quite fully shut the door. I think he's trying to use his leverage to get certain things that he wants. If he can't get them, he might leave. Look, it is so unbelievably rare for a player's agent to publicly announce, hey, these are the 4 teams we'd accept a trade to. Cowboys, Bears, Saints, Raiders. Cowboys have Dak Prescott, not going to happen. Chicago Bears have Justin Fields, not going to happen, although I guess you could do a 1-for-1, maybe some other picks involved, but if you're Chicago, you're probably going to stick with your young guy. Cowboys can't trade Dak money-wise. Raiders, they're a threat. And the Saints have the most uncertain quarterback situation of all 4 of those teams. Wilson this year started the year hot, ended the year hot, wasn't very good in the middle, ended up rallying to his QBR ranking, which it's an ESPN set, just a data point. Checked him in just outside the top 10. He wasn't quite right in the middle part of the year. Injury certainly a factor in that, but who here thinks Sean Payton would do a great job with Russell Wilson? I sure as hell do. I'd love to go get him if I were the New Orleans Saints. Today's show is powered by our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code you see right there. That's chat125. Gets you a 125% deposit bonus when you put down at least $100 with BetUS. That way, in case you get some bets wrong, you're still playing with house money. The Titans and Bengals, Packers, Niners, Bucks, Rams, Chiefs, Bills. Those are your playoff matchups this weekend in the NFL. And you can bet on all the games and the NBA, college basketball, MLB if that ever comes back. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code CHAT125. We are now in Draft SZN, and quarterbacks being mocked to the New Orleans Saints is becoming increasingly popular. 3 big outlets, The Athletic and Dane Brugler, The Athletic and Dane Brugler, Mel Kiper of ESPN, and Pro Football Focus. Matt Corral was mocked to the Saints by Dane Brugler. Mel Kiper mocked Kenny Pickett, and PFF mocked Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati. 3 quarterbacks who I think have varying pros and cons and differing styles of fits in New Orleans. We'll go player by player here briefly and show you their stats as well. Not that different. Ridder, I think you can make an argument, has one of the higher ceilings in this year's class. His best throws look incredible. The down-in, down-out consistency is not there, but that would make him a good project for a coach like Sean Payton, who we know can develop quarterbacks. We've seen him be the quarterback guy in the past, right? Kenny Pickett might be QB1 this year after having more touchdowns this season than his entire collegiate career combined entering this year. And Matt Corral, we'll come back to him in a minute. But first, I want you guys to pick a QB. If the Saints don't acquire somebody via a trade or sign somebody in free agency, and they're sitting there in round 1, all 3 are on the board, who would you like to draft? Type MC for Matt Corral, KP for Kenny Pickett, DR for Desmond Ridder. Matt Corral's numbers are not the most astounding this year. Only 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in that Lane Kiffin offense. I actually think he might be the best fit for Sean Payton. I think his style, he's quick in a word, quick release, quick to get the football out. It helps increase his arm strength a little bit as well. Isn't quite as elongated as maybe a Desmond Ridder is. Isn't as panicky in the pocket as Kenny Pickett can be in the past. There is no elite, even a Justin Fields or maybe even a Mac Jones level prospect this year. Matt Corral and the Sean Payton fit does intrigue me. I'm not going to complain about Kenny Pickett either. Some Joe Burrow, very light versions to his game. Not quite the same under pressure in the pocket as far as I'm concerned, which, I guess that makes Kenny Pickett Jared Goff, doesn't it? Wow, just realized that comparison. Lock it in for me. And then Desmond Ridder is high upside, lower floor guy. Other quarterback prospects, if you guys have interest in beyond those first 3 names, Malik Willis is massively boom or bust. Sam Howell intrigues me as not in round 1. If he's there in day 2, I'd have interest in it there. Carson Strong got to clear that knee and prove he's better in the pocket in terms of being able to move around. He's not an elite athlete. That's a big red flag for me, but he's got the arm. 2 small school guys that are definitely worth monitoring. Bailey Zappi, video game numbers this year for Western Kentucky, and Caleb Ellaby out of Western Michigan. That's a sleeper if such a thing exists at the quarterback spot. I want to shout out 5 people here right now for being part of the first commenters club here on New Orleans Saints Now. Andrew Guerrero, I think I pronounced that name correctly. Austin, Gary V, Majin Vegeta, again, I think I got that right. If not, I'm sorry. And Mr. D, some of the first commenters here on our more recent videos. So I wanted to give you guys a shout out and thank you for supporting us here at Chat Sports. And if you haven't already and you're still watching the video, you guys are cool. Awesome. Appreciate it. Hit that big red button and subscribe. Free videos throughout the offseason. Draft, free agency, trade, all kinds of stuff here. This is going to be your one-stop shop throughout the season. Let's talk Jameis Winston now. And I think this is a very viable option for New Orleans, especially if you don't get a big trade. Right? Why not just re-sign Winston? He played, I thought, pretty well before his injury. There were some big games with lots of touchdowns, not that many passes. His touchdown attempts numbers were one of the best in the NFL this year. He's going to be a free agent after this year. I don't think Winston is ever going to be the number one overall pick caliber quarterback that the Bucs were hoping he would end up being. His completion percentage was not that high in New Orleans, but he cut down on the turnovers. That's a big deal. That being a lesser version of Brett Favre matters, I think, for what the Saints tried to do. And I would argue if you had Winston all year, maybe you would have made the playoffs. So especially if you cannot trade for a Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, etc., I think a one-year deal makes a lot of sense. It gives you a stable option that you have proven you can win within a 7-game sample size last year at quarterback, who's better than Simeon, better than Ian Book, better than Hill, and doesn't preclude you from drafting a quarterback and also doesn't force you to draft one if the one you like doesn't fall to you in round 1 or whenever.